He's been laying in wait since finishing third in the Kentucky Derby. Can Baeza come through and make it another Triple Crown win for the family? Let's talk about it. Hi, everyone. Matthew DeSantis here with NYRA Bets. Here with the Belmont Stakes Contender Spotlight preview of Baeza. Very impressive runner for trainer John Shirreffs, who has a impeccable family resume, which we will get to in a little bit. But before we do that, want to encourage you to press that like button and subscribe to NYRA Bets YouTube today. Subscribing is entirely free of cost. Just notifies you when new videos drop on the channel, whether those are race previews, full card analyses, handicapping and betting tutorials, weekly programs, and so much more. We got a fun new program starting in the fun new podcast. Kaylee Shapiro is bringing on a Hall of Famer, Nick Zito. You got to love the Z-Man. If you're my age, there are three people synonymous with the Triple Crown, and it was Bob Baffert, D. Wayne Luteskis, and Nick Zito. Man alive. I'm so excited. I can't wait. Kaylee even said I can be the first guest and come on in the first episode. Man, am I excited about that. Now, want to, like I said, press that like and subscribe button today. Now, in terms of signing up on NYRA Bets, if you haven't done it already, I don't know what your problem is, but make sure to do it today, okay? Because if you do, you can use the code Belmont25. Use that promo code. You get up to a $200 deposit match bonus and a free $25 bet. You can't beat it. So, like I said, make sure to use that promo code Belmont25 today. All right, well, let's talk about Baeza. I'm fired up because this is a fun horse. Because of the pedigree. I mean, we just have to dive right into it because there is no horse in this crop that has as many expectations in some ways from a pedigree standpoint as Baeza. Why is that? Because he is the offspring of Puka. Has nothing to do with McKinzie, which we'll get to in a second, who I think is actually a very effective first crop sire, now a second crop sire. But ultimately, it is about Puka because she is the broodmare that produced 2023 Kentucky Derby winner Mage and 2024 Belmont Stakes winner Dornoch. That's not bad, folks. And now she's got another one in Baeza, who's a really damn good horse. As you can see, second in the Santa Anita Derby to journalism, third in the Kentucky Derby to sovereignty and journalism. This is an outstanding horse, 2 times grade 1 placed already in his young career. So Puka, man, she throws him because this is an incredible broodmare to be able to produce these horses in 3 consecutive years. And it would be an amazing accomplishment if Baeza could win another Triple Crown race for the family. Now, he didn't run in the Preakness. That was the missing jewel of the family Triple Crown. I thought that was always going to be what they were going to do. But obviously, you don't want to get too cute with these types of things. John Shirreffs a great trainer and obviously knows how to handle these horses. Flavien Prat stays aboard. That's notable. Why? Because he had an option. He could have went to Hill Road instead for Chad Brown, who he has obviously a very great working relationship with. But opts to stay on Baeza, which I think tells you his opinion of this horse. He thinks Baeza is a better horse than Hill Road. Because if not, he runs a lot more horses for Chad Brown than he does John Shirreffs. So if he thought it was a 50-50 coin flip between these two, he probably would have gone to Hill Road. Now, again, it's a little bit of speculation on my part, but he's got a great working relationship with Chad. He rides a lot of horses for him. So again, if Flavien thought it was close, he might have gone to the partner that he works with all the time. Now, he rides for John Shirreffs occasionally, but Flavien's not out in California as much anymore. So as a result, the fact he stays on Baeza tells you he thinks this horse has a significant advantage over a horse like Hill Road, which call me crazy. I think Flavien might be onto something here. So now Baeza sired by McKinzie. And that is a little bit different because, of course, the first 2 Puka Triple Crown winners in terms of Mage and Dornoch were sired by Good Magic. And so you do have a different sire, but obviously the production has continued to remain at a very high level despite a change in sire. McKinzie's a sire I like a lot. I think he's a good sire. I think he's a more, they weren't super precocious at first, and then they started to win a bunch of races. And if you looked at the average winning distance between the McKinzie offspring and something like Game Winner offspring, or you looked at, even Vekoma offspring, going back maybe a crop and looked at some of those different offspring, a lot of those horses had average winning distances of, 6.3, 6.7 furlongs. You looked at McKinzie, average winning distance of his offspring, even from the first year that he was doing it was 7.1, 7.2 furlongs. So his offspring were getting a little bit more distance, a little bit easier. So I think, again, this is a good combination of speed, stamina, and obviously proven broodmare production in terms of Puka. So listen, he's only won his maiden in terms of Baeza, but has run so well in that Santa Anita Derby and the Kentucky Derby that it's hard to discount his chances in any race. And this is a horse that started on the turf actually at Del Mar in December and was going 2 turns. Interestingly, had Umberto Rispoli up that day. Of course, Rispoli is going to be riding journalism in the Belmont Stakes, so it's just kind of interesting that Rispoli has a little bit of history with this horse as well. Horse goes to the dirt and ends up, losing that debut race on the dirt, I should say, to Rodriguez, actually. So again, there's a lot of connections here in terms of losing to Rodriguez. Then goes next time out a mile at Santa Anita, wins that race with a 93 Beyer speed figure, wins it easily with Hector Berrios aboard, and then goes to the Santa Anita Derby, where Shirreffs has another horse entered, Westwood, whose job was kind of to soften up Citizen Bull a little bit, and he did his job very well. And Baeza was kind of sitting the perfect position for him that day. He was sitting, third and kind of mid-pack for most of that trip. He was last early, but kind of moved up to third position. And then when Citizen Bull started to fade, he was able to take over, got to the lead, and he really had a pretty big advantage over journalism, who had gotten stuck on the inside with Umberto Rispoli aboard. And journalism, though, finally gets out in the clear and starts making a run and was able to track him down. And Baeza loses by less than a length in that race, but earns a 101 Beyer speed figure and really showed, hey, if I can hang with journalism, who was, of course, your favorite in the Kentucky Derby, I can hang with just about anybody. And it happened again. In the Kentucky Derby, he didn't get off great. He drew a very far outside post because, remember, he wasn't also eligible in that Kentucky Derby. You have to wonder, could he have run better if he had been in the main field in the main draw and gotten a closer inside post position? He broke from 19 of 19 that day on the far outside, and he got away not slowly, but he was much further back than I think a lot of us thought he was going to be, because he's a horse that tends to sit more of a mid-pack tracking trip, and he found himself sitting 14th, 15th in the early going of the race. Now, he kind of made a move to get into position a little bit, and obviously was closing with a lot of momentum coming down the stretch there, and just missed out on nabbing journalism for second, but finished less than 2 lengths behind Sovereignty that day. So he and Sovereignty, if you looked at the metrics, had very, very similar metrics in terms of stride length and in terms of closing fractions, that last 16th, that last eighth of a mile. So he was closing not quite as strong as Sovereignty, but pretty close to it. So that was, I thought, very impressive to see him do something a little bit out of his routine, coming from that far back, handling a sloppy track, which is always a bit of a question mark for these California horses who usually don't have to face off-track conditions very often, but he was able to handle it beautifully. Earned a 102 Beyer speed figure, and now goes back to California to rest up for the Belmont Stakes. And that it was always the plan for this horse to skip the Preakness and go to the Belmont. And so he's been able to rest up, while journalism, of course, ran that very thrilling victory in the Preakness Stakes. But Baeza and Sovereignty, they've been able to rest up, get stronger. He shipped into Saratoga on Thursday, so he's ready to go. And he's been up there with plenty of time to get acclimated, get a workout in over the track, get plenty of morning gallops in over the track. So he's going to be able to get familiar with his surroundings over the next 7-8 days before the big race. So listen, he's an exciting horse. And I think a lot of people are going to be rooting for him because of the Puka connection, because people know about Dornoch, because people remember Mage, obviously, winning those big races. So the family connection obviously is going to be a big reason, but on his own, he is an outstanding horse. He's coming in with back-to-back 100-plus Beyer speed figures. And by the way, nobody else in the field can say that. Sovereignty has got one 100-plus Beyer speed figure. Journalism ran a 98 last time, admittedly with a bit of an asterisk. And Hill Road ran a 94. Rodriguez has a 101 from his Wood Memorial, but that's the race before that, he ran, I think, about a 90. So Baeza's shown really strong consistency, continuous improvement, has never gotten slower. That's another, we don't know, what is the best for this horse? 87, 93, 101, 102 are the 4 dirt efforts. Is there a 105 in there? Is there a 107? Maybe. We don't know. He's got a great jockey on board in terms of Flavien Prat. And from a race dynamic standpoint, where is he going to be sitting? That's what I think is so interesting. Because if you look at that maiden breaking win and even that Santa Anita Derby, and you look at that compared to the rest of the field, he should be sitting right off of Rodriguez. because if there's no other speed in the race, Rodriguez is going to be up in the front. And if nobody's going to press Rodriguez, then it really is up to journalism and Baeza to be sitting second and third. Now, some of it might depend on what their post position they draw in terms of who's second and who's third, but expect Baeza to be close to Rodriguez. He is not going to let that horse get far out of his sights. I don't think they want to replicate what they did in the Kentucky Derby. I think they want to replicate a much closer trip to what he had in the Santa Anita Derby, as well as in that maiden-breaking victory. So he is a horse that should be sitting close to the pace. Now, does he want to sit that close to the pace going against a horse like Rodriguez, going 1.25 miles? You know, he's already done the 1.25 miles once, but he had the benefit of coming off the pace behind fast fractions. Now, can he win potentially sitting on the pace behind more modest fractions? We'll have to wait and see, but I think that's a question to consider with a horse like Baeza. But by far and away, he's got the second best early speed figure in the field if you look at the Timeform US pace projections. So expect him to be very close to Rodriguez early on. Again, does he want to sit that trip against this level of competition? Is he capable, after sitting that trip, of holding off journalism, of holding off sovereignty? We've already seen him not be able to hold off journalism before in the Santa Anita Derby, but flip it around, we saw him almost nab journalism in the Kentucky Derby because he was sitting a little further back and coming with a big run late there. So again, very exciting horse. I can't wait to see kind of how he runs. I'm going to be very interested to see how he looks physically. I think that's such a big thing for me because I want to see how he's developed since that Kentucky Derby. I want to see how he looks physically compared to journalism and sovereignty. That's one of the things about those West Coast horses. We've not had as much of a chance here in New York to be able to see them up close and personal. You know, obviously, Kaylee and I were lucky that we got to see some of them down at Churchill Downs leading up to the Derby, but we didn't get a chance to see Baeza down there, or didn't get a great look at Baeza all the time. I think Kaylee might have gotten a little bit of a better look at him one morning, and I was kind of in a different spot on the track and didn't get as good of a look. So I'm interested in seeing kind of how he looks compared to what we saw of him in the Kentucky Derby. Did he get bigger? Did he get more developed? So again, very interesting horse. And here's the thing. He's going to be third choice on the board because you know who the top two choices are going to be. Baeza is going to be third choice, maybe 7-2, 4-1, that area, maybe as high as 9-2. And again, I think at those odds, he's at least interesting to consider. He's a horse I think you have to think about using in your verticals. And he's a horse that if you want to try to poke holes in the top two, he's a completely logical horse to land on as an alternative to those top two choices, because we might not have even seen them best yet. And we know the pedigree is going to be able to handle 1.25 miles. All right. Well, that's going to do it for me on this Belmont Spotlight Contender Series for Baeza. Make sure to press that like button and subscribe to NYRA Bets YouTube today. And of course, remember to use the promo code Belmont25 when signing up on NYRA Bets. So you can get your $200 deposit match bonus and free $25 added to your account for a bet. All right. Folks, I hope you're having a great day, getting excited for the Belmont Stakes Racing Festival. My name is Matthew DeSantis, wishing you a great and profitable day at the races, and reminding you, friends, it's now post time.